And we're on, and we are live. And
Disclaimer.
some of us are more alive than others, but and some of us are drinking good
none of us are
craft
Justin
and getting
Jackson.
even more alive. And I'm Dyer from Connecticut, and we have Brian from Dublin, Ireland, of
Hello.
the Irish Craft Beer Show.
How's it going, Ed?
Going great. We have Jani from Finland. It's a picture of some weird-looking person. I don't know who that is.
Oh, that's his computer AI.
Oh, the artificial intelligence. We can talk a lot about that. Patrick is not joining us in person at this point, but he's on the chat area, joining along in the chat area. And we got Ulysses from Virginia. Haven't seen you in a while, Ulysses.
I know. I've been working around the clock.
That's good. Making cash money.
Just trying as hard as I can. And this is Science Ireland, where Justin Jackson isn't here right now, but we will fill in for him, and
He's here in
got
spirit.
A whole lot of topics tonight.
Yes, we're gonna have a lot of talk. We'll be focusing on space as advertised.
Space.
What else? Well, we cover some environmental news
Yes.
about our friend the bees.
Oh, I love the bees.
About a SolaRoad being built in the Netherlands.
And I
really
I
like
have
that.
my opinion on that too.
I think if I might well, if I had the money, move to the Netherlands right now. They're really doing a lot. I really like the country.
You could have Jani as a neighbor.
Neighbor, you listen. I think maybe you should look at the world map.
Europe isn't isn't one small city now.
Think about it. Europe is small compared to here.
No, Europe isn't small compared to America. Europe is, I believe, bigger than America. So.
It's like the size of Texas. Europe is bigger than America.
Europe is bigger than the United States. Yes.
I could drive across Europe. North to south. I could drive across that in a day. Less than a day.
Try drive from Dublin.
Dublin's an island. That's not a continent. Come on.
No, Dublin's a city in an island.
Oh, that's right. I need to start drinking. I have no excuse.
Okay, guys, let's make it. Let's try to make an attempt at one story.
All right.
Handle one story and get through one story. We'll be doing good town.
Let's do the Texas oil town. Should I start reading it?
I'll give it a brief overview and then you can talk about it.
Oh, okay.
Talking about our friend Denton, Texas. Denton, Texas is Republican territory. They shoot Democrats in Denton, Texas.
Wait a minute now.
And it's the fracking capital of America. There's probably more fracking going on in Denton, Texas than any city in the United States and possibly even the entire, I don't know, country. I don't know what I'm talking about. In any event, Denton, Texas, and even though the Republicans had a smashing victory this last week on Tuesday, in Denton, Texas, they voted against fracking. The fracking capital of the United States voted against fracking. Now, I just want to read what the this is some political appointee, a Republican, the railroad commissioner. Okay. As the senior energy regulator in Texas, I am disappointed that Denton voters fell prey to scare tactics and mischaracterization of the truth in passing the hydraulic fracking ban. Okay, Ulysses, what do you think?
If you read the article, and it's a pretty interesting article, they spent $700,000 in this one town to defeat this bill, and that's $6 for every resident. That just gives you an idea of how much money these oil companies are making, fracking companies. What I have a problem with is that I don't think the demographics is what you're making it out to be in Texas. Denton, Texas has a college, and colleges are known for well-rounded, educated individuals who do take interest in their environment. So I would like to venture to say that maybe some of these numbers are a little askewed, that this one town could be just a rarity, and that a lot of other towns won't be going to ban fracking. Now, I find it interesting in Texas, they are having water problems now where they're using water to pull out natural gas and people's wells are going dry. I mean, but I don't know if this would be a beginning of a trend, is what I'm saying. Because we'd still need natural gas as a bridge energy to whatever carbon-free emission power generation technology will come along. I mean, I don't like it, but what else do we have? I mean, so that is my 2 cents upon this natural fracking story. I think it's good that people could take a stand when it's right, and I really think that they need to change the law saying what kind of chemicals are used in the solutions they pump down into our ground. I mean, that's just a common sense to me. I wonder if Europe has that. Do they have? Does Ireland do any natural fracking? Natural gas fracking?
It has been discussed. We have gas that could be extracted by fracking. It hasn't happened yet, but right now most of Europe is getting its natural gas from Russia, which gives that country a lot of power. So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Would you prefer to get? Because I know fracking in the United States has brought down the cost of energy, and it's like the cost of energy in the United States now is a lot less than it was before fracking started. Whereas that's not the case. That's not the case here. Like,
it's really dropped the price of energy production in this country. We have, in my part of the state, they're running to run another gas line, and it's going to be was it a 48-inch pipe they want to run, and buried only 3 feet in the ground, which is not very deep compared to most natural gas pipes, and that's got a lot of people worried because one just blew up about an hour's away drive from here. So it's catch-22. You guys really need to feel, and if we're going to have a feud with Russia, it would behoove America to pick up the ball and really start feeding Europe, so to strengthen our allies in the political sense. The other sense, it comes at a cost of the environment, and are we willing to pay such cost? On the upside, natural gas does not emit nearly as much CO2 in the air as oil or coal, but on the downside, you can ruin water tables.
Yeah.
And destroy people's lives, So then it's dangerous. It could blow up. But it's creating a job boom. Like just outside of D.C., they're making a natural gas plant where they can compress it and send it overseas. That's $1 billion project. So a lot of
I think
I'm going to be working on that.
I think natural gas powers most of our electricity generation right now. And that is a lot cleaner than the old coal power plants that it replaced. So,
yep.
I am in two minds over over natural gas, because while it still is a fossil fuel and it still does, take carbon from out of the ground and throw it into the air, it's a lot better than what was there before.
Well, Ed, what is your take on this?
Well, one, I think, is an example of specifically talking about a Republican town voting against what you would think of as which would you think as a democratic issue, where you're not seeing dramatic initiatives on the federal government level. You are seeing initiatives at the local level, such as in this town in Texas. So while you are less likely to see regulations coming from the federal government in terms of things like fracking, you're going to see it more frequently probably at the local level. And it's happening, I think, at the local level because initially a lot of people, individuals, made money off of fracking. People putting those wells and things in their backyard. A lot of people made money off it. But now these people are having problems as a result of that fracking process. As in Denton, it's not helping the community. It's creating problems. It's creating water usage. It takes a lot of water for that fracking process, and Texas is in a drought. So I think what you're seeing is action being taken at the local level and not so much action being taken at the federal level.
Eventually you're going to have to take some action on the federal level, because if we keep seeing, if it happens again, I mean, this past summer there was a giant spill, in Lake Erie? Was it killed off thousands of fish?
But that's pesticides.
Or was it pesticides?
Runoff from the farms.
Well, that was another one. That was another thing. There was another
phosphates
smell or something, and I think to deal with cleanups, I mean, because that's such a massive area and it affects so many different states, you're going to have to deal with it. I don't know if we'll ever will, because when Jani wrote this law and it got passed, they didn't have to say what was in the chemicals. Now we got to get some smart lawyers to fight. I don't know.
You take a look at environmental issues, you take a look at Texas. Texas, Republican, oil country, but Texas is putting a lot of money into solar panels, getting their energy from solar energy. I think they're -- 2 behind California, and they're going to be #1 pretty soon.
The #1
you have a state very much interested and financed by oil money, but they're investing a lot of money in solar energy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it, but
in fact, our last hangout we had Thursday.
Yeah.
I couldn't find a graph, but in terms of new energy use, new energy production, natural gas was in the 40%, but solar energy was like 30%, 29, 30%. Excuse me. So we're seeing dramatic increases in the use of solar energy. Overall, not so much. The country as a whole, and I think it was Patrick who mentioned it, is still like 3, 4, 5% as a whole. But at the local level, you're seeing a lot of communities, seeing Oregon, big push in solar panel use in Oregon, California, and even Texas. So I would say, in terms of environmental issues, you're seeing a lot of progress at the local level and not so much progress at the federal level.
No, I mean, you won't see any progress in the federal level. It's just politics. Politics and lobby money.
I know. We're also in kind of a transition.
Remember when they said
talking a little bit about talking about funding of things like space, where you're getting partnerships now instead of solely the federal government doing it. You're getting partnerships between industry and government. You're seeing that with solar energy, with energy production. You're seeing more partnerships between private industry. This business, this solar energy business, is creating more jobs. It's a more profitable business. More corporations are going to get in it. And as more corporations get in it, and as it generates more profits, then its use is going to increase. You have Solar City, where you can rent solar panels, and they'll take care of the maintenance.
Yep.
So on the short term, I am pessimistic, but in the long term, and I mean, I'm talking 10 years from today. 10 years from today, I'm willing to bet the United States will be getting 30 to 50% of its energy from solar energy, not from natural gas or gasoline. Electric cars. Once we get that network built of charging stations, who wants to buy a gas-driven car with all the problems you have with a gas-powered engine when you can go to an electric car? You press the button, instant energy. You don't have the maintenance problems that you do with gas-driven cars.
0 to
You're going
60.
to see a tremendous increase in people buying electric cars once the price gets down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The problem is
in Norway, the number one selling car is a Nissan Leaf, which is a fully electric car, and it's just due to government subsidies for electric car drivers. Don't have to pay as much tax, and it's working fine for them. Like, they've got the critical mass of people buying the cars now, so the infrastructure is being built up. You know, when the number one car is an electric car, the infrastructure is being built up, and it's working there.
But see, the problem here is we have about half, or a little over half, the voting electoral does not want to vote for subsidies here. So you won't get the government subsidizing electric cars, and our price of cars are very expensive. So until some sort of economic market forces come around, you're not going to have electric cars. And plus, the ranges of these cars are you're still kind of stuck to local environments, local areas.
Yeah, but unless you're a long distance driver, I mean, it covers your daily commute.
Well, for me, I commute like 60 miles a day easy, so.
Yeah, so electric car would cover that.
Two-way, that's 120 miles, so no.
Yeah, no, range is about 300 kilometers on cars, electric cars now.
Well, now, but like, not too many affordable cars. I think the
affordable. Affordable because you're not going to get many second-hand electric cars. There isn't the critical mass of them yet, but give it time.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. But
well, if you're looking at, for instance, range and maintenance, you look at the big one is mental blank all of a sudden. That guy building the electric car.
Elon Musk and his Tesla.
Elon Musk, our friend Elon Musk. And his car has a range of about 300 miles now. And I'm sure we're going to get improvements in batteries. And you can pull into a charging station, get a battery swap in a couple of minutes, and you're good to go for 300 miles. Yes? Somebody?
That's very good, but,
Well, the problem is his cars right now cost about $75,000 to $100,000.
And he's
building a new model that's going to be in that $30,000 range. And as and the thing is, once you have your own charger in your house, so you can take the Ford or whatever it is, the other cheaper model cars, and you can just plug them in overnight. And those cars take a while to charge up, as I understand it.
Yeah, you only have 110 volts power supply as well. We've 230 volt to 220 volt here in Europe. So
yeah, your standard voltage is what, 277?
220.
220? Yeah, it's way more efficient. That's another thing. Our power grid is so inefficient here. But I can wire my house up to do 240. I can have a 240 charger. I could do it for you, Ed, but I don't think your landlord would like it too much.
We're a condo association. We run our own association. Now there's 400 of us, so all we do is fight all the time and never agree on anything. But we do have an association. You know, that curve on solar energy use is going up and up and up. I'm very confident 10 to 15 years, if you're in the car business, you're going to be in the electric car business. And you know, if you have a dealership and you're one guy selling electric cars and the other guy selling gas-driven cars, the electric car guy is going to make all the money. So it's going to be 10, 15 years, and gasoline-driven cars are going to be, you know, they're going to become the minority, and more people are going to be having electric-driven cars, and you're going to have more states using solar energy farms. So the electric grid will be powered more by solar energy. And I'm going to say 10 to 15 years, I'm willing to bet the majority of our electrical power will come from solar panel farms. We got to build some nuclear power plants, though.
I think Ed, you've segued nicely into your next story, have you? About
nukes.
Nice segue. You're getting good at presenting.
Well, let's cover that one briefly.
I have a beef with this little story. 70 meters of this road. You go ahead and read it. Before I get it.
I'm gonna pick it out. Your room. I had everything planned. I had planned the stories we're gonna cover. Now you guys are mixing me up, and now I gotta find.
Well, you gotta tell me your plan.
There we go. I got it.
I'll ruin it every time. I'll ruin your plan.
And I'm gonna try to attempt one of my world famous screen shares, which never work.
Just do what I do and hold the tablet up to the camera. If that works.
Jani can do it. Can't you, Jani?
I did it.
There it goes.
Now I'm really gone.
There we
That
go.
didn't work out too well. Well, I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Maybe I can share
All
it.
right, let's try this again.
Let me see if I can share it. Here it is. New tab. Oh, we lost Ed.
There we go.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I can see it. Yay!
Hopefully you can see it. There we go.
I can see it.
Okay. And now I'm going to read the story. This is Imtech in conjunction with the province of Noord-Holland. Some Osmus Civil has developed the world's first SolaRoad, located in Kromenwinny, Holland. The solar panel path will be connected to the national grid to meet increasing energy demands and to advance renewable energy use in Holland. Yay, Dutch people. The local authority funded scheme cost $3.7 million, something like that. SolaRoad pilot cycle path is constructed with 2 lanes, one of which is made of prefabricated concrete slabs connected to the national grid. One lane is made of 2.5 to 3.5 meter slabs of concrete with integrated layer of crystalline silicon solar cells and has a top layer of translucent tampered safety glass, a centimeter thick. The second lane, constructed without solar cells, will be used for testing various top services. Crystalline solar cells are made with two doped semiconductors. Excuse me. Doping is the addition of an impurity into the silicon. Okay, just like people being doped. Impurities in the silicon of the N-type semiconductor create mobile free electrons. Free the electrons. In the P-type semiconductor, the impurities create holes where the N and P-top layer meet, called the junction. Electrons cross the junction and join with a hole, canceling each other out, leaving a positive charge in the N-type. The holes also move across the junction from the P-type region to the N-type, leaving a negative charge. The movement of electrons across the PN junction creates a built-in electric field that is always present across the cell.
But basically, with this, Ed, you have 2 layers, and what you'll have is the sun will shoot a photon, hit one layer, which pushes out an electron, and is caught by the second layer, giving you your electrical current. This is all DC, and they're all connected. Your P layers, and that way they're all additive. Yes, solar cells, Patrick. So this is just describing how they work.
Okay.
That saves you like 10 paragraphs of reading how it works. I'm sorry.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh, okay, you guys. You're in a rush to get to the actual.
No. I want to talk
okay.
about this.
That's fine with me. Go ahead, Ulysses.
I read a second
Tell me
article.
what's wrong with these people in the Netherlands who are trying to create energy from their bicycles.
Oh, well, I read a second article.
Drive bicycles everywhere. Okay, Ulysses, go. Tell me what's wrong with this.
The second article that I read about this bicycle lane, it takes 70 meters to power 3 homes, and that's like what, 210 feet long by 3.5. What are these things? 2 meters wide, 3 meters, 3.5 meters wide.
Not the 3.5.
That's a big chunk of sidewalk. I mean, that's a lot. If it's going to happen, these things have to become more efficient. There's just no way to power all homes using these bike lanes, which is good, but they're very expensive to build.
But this is a prototype.
Yeah, well, granted, but I don't see legislatures coughing up money to build this in the United States.
That's because you're an American. You're not from the Netherlands. If you're from the Netherlands,
I'm being
you will
realistic.
see support for this kind of thing.
I
This is a
support the
bike-crazy country. These are people who bike. They don't drive their stupid gasoline-driven cars everywhere and pollute the atmosphere. They ride their bicycles.
It's not as cool as Jani.
Bike-riding people on solar panels in a place like Amsterdam, that's going to generate an awful lot of electricity.
Just
They're all
think of how much bicycle lanes there are, and imagine now just if you went down, for routine resurfacing, whatever, if instead of putting down an asphalt surface, you put down solar panels, I mean the cost will come down.
They're going to get drunk and throw them up on them, and
Within a few years, there could be like 6 households powered by these.
you'll have vagrants sleeping on them and reduce the power efficiency of these things. I'm so Mr. Negative all of a sudden.
Once again,
We could have electric cars
the
powered by the
American.
roads.
I'm being realistic in America.
nah, this is just.
It's
Go ahead, Brian.
for European nations who are progressive. I just don't ever see it happening here.
Yeah, you can't really invade a country for solar power. That's
No, you can't. Which is you can nuke it. You have to invade it.
You're not going to extract all the solar power from a country, no?
Well, Russia might invade you guys, but
There are more cities in the United States that are becoming bike-friendly. Even New York City. You go to Portland, Oregon. You go places out into the West, and they're becoming more and more bike-friendly. That's another very positive movement, starting at the local level. It's just at the local level. It's a small start, but it's a start. And that's the kind of thing, as the way we work, more from home, changes, and people will be able to, I think, there'll be more local work, more local jobs, local farms, local markets. Everything will become more local, I think.
I'm happy to know that
we'll have people
the Roanoke
biking.
Valley is building bike trails here. We've got one that attaches. There's one big city and 2 little cities on either side of Roanoke, and in the county. And they've started in West County, and there's a bike lane going all the way through the city down the southeast part of the city, and that's going to expand to all parts of the county, which is amazing because I would have never thought that would happen 10 years ago. Because
we start doing in Ireland is converting old railway lines Railway lines are closing the 50s, converting them into bike trails. And if you just hold on a moment, my battery is very low, so I have to plug in my laptop. So I'll just disappear for a few minutes.
Okay.
That's where he needs a solar panel in his house.
He needs a solar panel on his roof just to charge his one battery. But I just had a beef with it taking 210 feet long just to power 3 houses. I mean, that's an incredible amount of space just for 3 houses. It's
yeah. When you're talking about the amount of practical energy being produced by this particular section of road, it's small.
Yeah, it's very small.
It's economically justified. But don't forget, it's a prototype. It's an experiment. And when you're talking about generating electricity by biking in any manner in a country where everybody bikes, it's a big thing.
It is a big thing, but
even in the United States,
granted, they're 30% less efficient, but that was built into the design, being they had to be tough to survive being driven on. And I applaud the effort. If we can make it really cheap here, then that would be our new standard in sidewalks and bike lanes. There's this silicone barrier in building the cells. If we could figure out how to make these solar cells cheap instead of they're so hard to cook. You have to bake them and you have to get them to line up. And these silicone cells are not easy to make.
Mm-hmm. That's
we could overcome that somehow. We'd be sitting pretty, but we'd still need other forms of energy production for our nighttime.
Yeah, you need the big thing is going to be that better battery, and we keep hearing about it every 5 years. We keep hearing about that better battery that can store lots and lots of energy. But we're making improvements, and that's what it's going to take. When we turn that corner, and we've got that really good battery built, which can store a lot of energy in, and you can get the energy out of it very quickly. That's when you'll see the big change. That's when you'll see solar energy explode.
I missed the article, and I wish would have brought it with this story, because they were talking about on an atomic scale the plates of the batteries, plating with on an atomic scale, making them more efficient. And yeah, you're right. Until we figure out how to store energy, that's why I like dams, because you can pump water back, pump regeneration dams, and have all the water you want. Because water's free. The only thing is you've destroyed the habitat of the whole river you dammed up. But that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, but short-term problems. Short-term problems. I think it's another example when you read what's happening in Holland, where other countries are developing these technologies, not just the United States. And let's say it slows down in the United States. Let's say there's less government backing because Republicans get in. But it's happening in other countries. Europe. I think Europe is very progressive. And it may be that it's going to be Europe that's going to lead us instead of the United States. Don't know. How you doing, Patrick?
Hey, Patrick. Where are you at tonight?
He
Can you hear us?
He is working on building a generator. I forget. He's working on stuff. He's building stuff. He's a technician. He's one of these technicians we need.
Okay. Other than it taking 210 feet to power 3 houses, that was my only.
Okay, we can go into another interesting discussion, as I say, about. So we're talking about jobs. We're talking about technology that me and Dale have been having, and that's artificial intelligence and humans. We've got your D-Wave computer. You've got your quantum computers. And computer technology, computer capacity is increasing dramatically. You have the D-Wave quantum computer. In 2007, D-Wave, when they opened up, was a 16 qubit. By 2011, 4 years later, it was 128 qubits. 2 years after that, this year, May of this year, in fact, May of last year, they're producing one up to 528 qubits. Enormous increases in computer capacity, computer power. And when you think about what that quantum computer can do, it's analytical type work, and how it's going to transfer. There we go. Well, not this guy. I don't know about this guy. Jani's put in front of us.
Jani scares me with his artificial intelligence.
But you get that quantum computer in the cloud, and where is it? I had my little blood testing machine. So I got this little machine. I'm a diabetic. So I got this little machine, and I put a blood sample on a piece of strip, and I put it in the machine, and the machine tells me what my blood sugar level is. Okay, now take that, and let's say that little machine is going to be able to do the same kind of analysis as you have in a medical lab. And then you you hook up to the internet, and that information goes into your quantum computer. It's going to be far more powerful. And that quantum computer is going to analyze it, and it's going to make a diagnostic evaluation. You're not going to go to a doctor. It's going to be that quantum computer in the cloud. And it's going to come back, and that quantum computer is going to say, okay, Ed, your blood sugar level, it is great. You don't have a lot of fatty tissue in there, but I'm sorry, Ed. We found a strange
10 years away.
You're going to die from cancer in 6 months. So.
We're only 10 years away. Think about it. There's an X Prize for, what is that handheld scanner device on Star Trek they were using?
The tricorder.
The tricorder. We're about 10 years away from that. I'm sure somebody will come along and develop it. And it'll revolutionize the way we take care of each other in the modernized world.
I mean, that's going to be a revolution. And the thing is, we humans will become more and more reliant on this quantum computer in the cloud. And that quantum computer in the cloud can begin to start taking over our lives. Hello, Ulysses. Come on, get up, you slacker. It's 8 o'clock in the morning.
You know what,
Brian? I can see you. You're not doing work, Brian. You're crafting some beer there. Come on, Brian, get to work.
Well, that is work. Hey, Ed. You know, pretty soon they should. I think iPhones, the new ones, can't they tell your temperature? Brian, do you know? I don't know if you know.
Don't know. I mean, they probably could.
I mean, it's not that
far-fetched.
It's not that far-fetched. I mean, we've got the technology that I'm sure there's something you could plug in to your phone and then it'll take your temperature.
Then you do the smartwatches. They can do that sort of thing.
Yeah, they can do that. I mean, we're not that far away. It's not. But what's impressive is the amount of computing that has increased in the last 4 years.
Hmm.
I remember in the article it talks about what is that? The computer that was in jeopardy was as big as a room, and now it's
Watson.
Watson's the size of 3 laptops now.
Hmm.
I mean, it's microization of our processing, and the big thing, Ed, is we're generating so much data now. We need huge storage spaces for all our stuff, you know, and that causes a need for energy, which goes back to your solar power.
Not necessarily.
It's called a callback in the industry.
Not necessarily. I mean, again, you've got that quantum computer. It's in the cloud, so you can hook up to it. You can have 10 hospitals hooked up to that quantum computer in the cloud, all using that incredible analytical power, and eventually you get people, you, me, accessing all that power by these little devices we have in our homes.
So we need incredibly good encryption.
So the server you're talking about It's not going to be this server farm that's taking up a huge building. You're going to talk about maybe one little server, one column, one server running on a quantum computer, and that's going to take the place of a big server farm. So you're not going to be possibly using up that much electrical power. He didn't speak out loud, but I could see Patrick seemed to be disagreeing with me at some point. Or perhaps he's frustrated with what he's working. He might be more frustrated with what he's working on.
He's probably frustrated with
Can you
me.
hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Bullshit.
Okay, there's a very succinct rebuttal there.
That is Patrick. There's our.
What do you think, Patrick?
You will never have like one tiny little machine, like one tiny quantum machine that's doing the whole work of like a current day server farm. All you're going to do is have hundreds of thousands of quantum machines going at the same time, just like every other server farm. You're just going to take up that same amount of space with more power.
Yeah, and it's only going to grow. We've never not grown.
Okay, what about the point then where the size of the computers themselves are shrinking? Where Watson used to take up the space of a bedroom, and now it's taking up the space of 3 pizza boxes.
Well, the processor may be shrinking, but the place where you store your data, Patrick, will that be shrinking? Or we've lost Patrick.
No, I'm still here. I'm just walking around.
I don't know. Are server farms themselves decreasing in size? For instance, if you take 10 years ago, the number of servers, the volume space used by the servers that people used.
I don't know. We've never.
Server farms are still in the ascendancy, though. I mean, 10 years
We've
ago,
never taken down a server farm yet.
we still haven't reached peak server farm yet.
We keep building more. We're not ever stopping building. You know. And they take up a lot of energy. The computers give off a lot of heat.
That's why you locate them in colder places.
But think about the energy used.
Yeah, but then you're just putting all of your heat into the colder environment, and it's warming that environment up quicker.
Yeah, that's all you're doing. Melting more glaciers.
Let's put them all in Antarctica. In a few years, we can colonize Antarctica.
I've thought about doing that.
I don't know. I think look at all the energy used by the jobs.
You know, instead of having home heating, we can just all have a small server in our house.
I do that during the winter. I hold off all of my rendering until the winter, then my computer gets hot and it's a space heater.
Brilliant.
That's good. Okay, so after these artificially intelligent, self-replicating computers do all the work that we're doing now and take care of us,
then we can go to space.
What are we humans got to be doing?
We're going to go to space.
Yes, that's what I want to
Segway! Segway!
That's exactly right. That's the thing. That's the thing we were talking about. Okay, we'll leave the Earth. You got to have these human blobs sitting in their little, hooked up to the computer or something, doing whatever
the Earth will be one large server farm, and we'll all be exploring the cosmos.
And then the rest of us, we're going to go off and explore space.
Which story do you want
to live in space? Space is going to be the future of mankind.
Yes.
Space is going to make for some good movies.
Have you seen Interstellar yet?
No, I haven't seen Interstellar yet.
I was going to see it tonight, but I'll have to see it tomorrow.
Only one person that on my Twitter feed has said it was bad, and everybody else said it was good. So.
Universe Today said it was good.
Yeah, that they did. Katie, she's an astrophysicist, said it wasn't good, but she's the only one. So I don't know.
What's it about? I've seen some trailers, but what's it about?
Earth is burned up, and we got to find another place to live.
Our future.
it's a bad future. So
another one of our talk. Well, you guys still want to talk about Interstellar?
Amy would be a good person to talk to. She might know more about it, but isn't it something like Matthew McConaughey goes to a black hole and finds another world for us to live on?
I don't know how they get there. I've heard there's a black hole in the video.
Yeah, there's a black hole in it somewhere.
There's a black hole and there's a planetary system that's orbiting it.
Okay.
Without a star or something.
Yeah, it's something. They had a reputable astrophysicist assisting Christopher Nolan on this.
Yeah, I did see a couple articles saying that the science behind it wasn't all that great, but we're talking about a fiction movie anyway.
Well, just check your brain at the door. It's fine.
Very much so. I'll jump into another topic that I wanted to talk about.
The moon?
Which is, okay, everybody's talking about going to Mars, and I was talking about going to Mars. What if instead we focus on the moon? Let's build our habitat on the moon, figure out how to live and work in space on the moon. Once we've figured it out on the moon, then we can go on to Mars. Right now, what we're doing is we're focusing on Mars, focusing on going to Mars. Except for China. I think China wants to build a mining station or something on the moon. And you know what? Why don't we do that? Why not focus on the moon first?
Let's not mine it first. So just check your brain at the door.
Very much so.
Oops.
I'll jump into another topic that I wanted to talk about.
Any time tapping here.
We got an echo. We got an echo.
Time travel.
Universe. We've got all universes here. What do you think, Ulysses? You're in charge of the space program. You're going to build that habitat.
Ulysses is not in charge of the space program.
You're going to build it on
Not
Mars.
yet.
If being a political realist, we don't have the money to go to Mars and the moon. So
Let's crowdfund it.
Technically, we haven't figured out how to survive the journey to Mars yet. We know
that whole statement about we don't have the money to go to the Mars or the moon is absolute bullshit.
Let's start a Patreon page
We have
first.
the new word, a new drinking game. Every time Patrick says bullshit, you take a drink.
Hell yeah, let's do this thing.
1 sec.
Hey, but first off, there's a lot of cosmic radiation that we have to deal with, and not a lot, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson. We're limited.
Oh, there he is.
We're limited by weight, Gary. What if we had unlimited funds? We could totally do this.
Yeah,
Elon Musk is going to do it, isn't he?
Yes, Elon Musk is.
What do you think, Brian? The moon first and then Mars, or let's just go to Mars, man? Let's dig into that soil and find that other life form.
Lots of science fiction I've read has suggested using the moon as a base to get to Mars. So rather than having to launch off of Earth to go all the way to Mars, kind of, have the moon as our spaceport where you can go from Earth to the moon and then to Mars, and it would be easier than escaping the gravity well of Earth with a giant ship full of stuff to go to Mars. So I can definitely see, through all the science fiction I've read, I can see that sorting out going to the moon. Mars is just the next step afterwards.
That's another thing.
We can have the moon could be like London Heathrow or something. It's everyone goes via the moon. Nobody actually ever wants to go there. Just that's where you go via. I don't know. You probably have Dallas Fort Worth or something as your. Or Atlanta, doesn't everyone? And no one goes to Atlanta. Everyone goes via Atlanta when you're flying.
Charlotte,
So, yeah.
Atlanta, Chicago.
So that can be the moon. It's like a big space hub.
I think the moon would be cool to go to. It's close enough, and it would give us. I don't know. Drilling into the regolith on the moon might be difficult. And of course, if something were to go wrong, you can always send up another ship with
3 or
supply.
4 days. It takes you 3 or 4 days to get to the moon.
Yeah, if you blow up, if you lose your water supply, say on a trip to Mars, you're screwed. You're just going to watch everybody dehydrate to death. So I mean,
There'll be cyanide capsules. Don't worry.
oh great.
It would be better to suffocate to death than it would be to take one of those things, because those things are not actually painless.
I don't think anything's, I mean, and so we've got to contend with cosmic radiation, bone density.
Who here has read The Martian? I know Ed has.
Brilliant,
Okay.
brilliant, excellent book. Loved it.
It is. It's the most accurate one out there. And remember what he said when he was losing oxygen in a spacesuit? All he would do was pass out, and then eventually he would die. But I think that's probably the way to go.
I love that book. That's exactly right. You had someone who, a very practical sort of person too. Was a real ordinary guy, so to speak, in terms of
A mechanical engineer and a botanist.
just
everything
pure
you need.
average every day.
Every day.
It's going to take us, with our current rocket technology, it will take us 2 years round trip if we don't stay in Mars for any length of time.
And that's presuming you don't go via the moon, yeah?
Yeah, if you would launch straight from here to Mars.
A few day layover at the moon, but they've got a nice.
On a short trajectory, it can take 9 months.
Yeah, but we don't have the energy to do that.
We do. We just don't have people funding their building it.
What do we not have? Was it the funds you just said? Wait a minute. If we don't have funds for it. That's the whole problem with the space program.
Like I said, Patreon for space program. Come on.
There we go.
Well, if you get Elon Musk and Richard Branson together, maybe you can afford a private company that goes to Mars.
Elon Musk has got the right idea. There was that one story, I don't have to read it or anything, but he's building a platform. Was it Louisiana, out in the Gulf Coast somewhere?
He's building a brand new boat with GPS attached to the engines, which, of course, that you'll be able to position this boat anywhere in the world, considering where your main stage is going to come down at, and hopefully reuse it.
Reusable. That's right. That's exactly the main point. He's building this reusable spacecraft. And the other thing interesting to me is that there's a 50% chance it'll be successful.
Yeah, it's a pretty
Now,
low chance.
the government's never going to finance something if the chance...
What the hell are you guys going on about? You have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm talking about Elon Musk. He says here, SpaceX has a 50%...
No, you're not reading, you're not picking up what is being put down in that article. What's happening is, this is the first attempt. It has a 50% chance. All future attempts will be way higher percentage.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's not going to get funding based on this one. He's going to get funding based on all the subsequent ones that do land on it properly.
I just think there's too much that could go wrong. But I'm glad he's trying. Bully for him.
I'm a pessimist.
Well,
You're no
my main
longer
point-
welcome on Science Island.
My main point is...
Patrick, come on now. I'm taking over your role.
This is private space programs, private funding, and they're willing to take the risks. Governments aren't.
This guy must
You
have
gotta
a
take
lot of money.
risks. You got to take risks in space travel. It's inevitable. These 2 accidents that we had, well, that's that's just the way it is. You're going to have accidents.
Cost of doing business.
So you got to take risks. And if we get more private money into space missions, those private people are going to be willing to take more risks and more chances than federally funded projects are. And that's maybe where the breakthroughs are going to come.
I think it's all cool. Anything that has to do with rockets and going to space and travel is fine. But the biggest thing is selling the electro oil on it. Nobody wants to support it.
How about if we start another Cold War with Russia and Russia decides they're going to go to Mars?
That's what I'm hoping for.
No, it won't be Russia. It'll be India and China.
Oh, China's going to the moon.
I think India is partnering with NASA to send another probe to Mars at some point.
That would be great. China, Russia, the U.S., European Space Agency, competition, some cooperation, some competition. That would be great.
I'd like to see Europe and India and us combine and go to Mars. I think that would be well worth our benefit because we're, India is the world's largest democracy, and we have very, very little interaction with them. For us being a democratic nation.
Unless you call tech support. You have a lot of interaction in India with tech support.
Talking about diplomatic.
I'm sure the White House is called tech support. Europe's going to a comet.
Oh yeah, that's right. Things landing on the 11th and 12th, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
I just posted
And no Bruce Willis in sight.
No, we can't leave him.
Yeah, there was a time.
It'll be the first time we actually land a specific lander on a comet, right?
Yeah.
Wrong.
Wrong. Well, I know we set a satellite on a comet.
No. We sent a probe to a comet. Or an asteroid. And they made a big deal about it. It was all on like the morning, like the, like the NBC, like Today Show or whatever channel it's on. And they had Michio Kaku there, and they were all excited, and they were going to get video of this thing crashing into the asteroid. Nope, no video. Just it happened, and there was a slight announcement, and then people were staring at each other, not knowing what to talk about.
This is why Carl Sagan said, put cameras on all our spacecraft so we can see what's happening, and it'll get people's interest involved.
Well, no, there was a camera on the mother probe staring at the thing, but it was too low resolution to see the actual event happen. They got sensor readings from it, but that was about it.
They've had some really great pictures of this comet, Rosetta, the Rosetta satellite. Has been taking some really great pictures. There's the descent. It says 9:03 GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. And it takes 7 hours. That's the separation. 7 hours to the descent, and then that's 1,600 hours Greenwich Mean Time without touchdown. So it's going to be 7 hours between the separation and the actual touchdown. That's going to be interesting. That's a major step.
It's a big step. And I'm impressed with India's space program. They inserted into the Mars orbit first time with a thing they built. How much did it cost?
That's because they had no confusion between metric and U.S. customary units.
Yeah, they only use one.
They only use metric rules.
Although it's a British colony, so you'd think they would use imperial.
Former British colony.
Well,
it's nice to turn against the old enemy, you know. I still maintain the only reason why Ireland went metric with all our road signs is so people know they're not in the UK.
So,
isn't also the idea of using comets as stepping stones to get to Mars? You
Use them
talked
as
about
fuel, as fuel stations.
Waypoints, fuel stations, supply depots. But it's not like... I really don't see that being very helpful unless you have completely independent spaceships that don't require orbits to move around.
I think we need better propulsion systems. That's all we need. Something that'll be more efficient, that won't need as much fuel, and give us a lot more thrust. And I'm sure we'll design it soon. I'm sure there's...
Patrick, isn't that what your friend Christopher was talking about?
Yeah.
They were supposed to test something on the International Space Station this year, weren't they? And I forgot.
This year or next year?
Yeah, it got delayed, didn't it? It was supposed to be this year, but I don't think it got launched. Some sort of new drive that...
At Astra.
It's really hot though, and it melts it can melt the engine real quick. It's way more thrust, and it doesn't require a lot of as much fuel as current chemical engines. Astra was what Patrick said. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I'd like to see that succeed.
Oh, it's the Vasmir. At Astra's the company.
Vasmir, I mean, yeah. Started with a V. I couldn't remember what it was.
Well, there you go. Design technology. Once you have, once again, something like the quantum computer can help you designing things. It can actually, more importantly, help you test things, run models. Think how much more quickly a D-Wave quantum computer can run model testing instead of having to do it in the lab.
We don't even need to go to space. We can just get a quantum computer to simulate, run models of what it would be like.
Yeah.
What is the thing? The Oculus Rift or something? You just put it on your...
Yeah, just have it in front of your face.
I don't know. I think you need to test things because, like, as we've seen, turbo pumps fail and blow up. Stuff happens. That is beyond control.
One of the questions I was going to ask you, Brian, when I was thinking of artificial intelligence, quantum computers, just before you fall asleep there, it's actually way past your bedtime, I'm going to assume.
It's midnight.
Do you think a quantum computer could replace a beer crafter?
Well, okay, it's funny you mention it. There is an invention that was this week in Dublin. There was a big conference, a tech conference, the Web Summit, where like loads of people tried to get loads of people with money meet loads of people with ideas, and they tried to get together. And some person had this idea for automatic brewing machine, where rather than having to ship beer abroad, you could just, sell somebody a recipe and they'd throw their own water, barley, yeast into this machine and it automatically makes beer. Now, I'm not fully convinced yet, but yeah, I can see like when in the future comes along. That's like, to me, it's almost. Are we going to get to Star Trek style replicators where there's no need to prepare anything? That you have all the ingredients in elements or whatever to make your stuff, and you have the computer figuring out how to combine it in the right way that it comes out like beer, comes out like food or whatever. That's
going to take all the fun out of making beer.
It is, yes, but you can still do stuff for fun even though you don't need to do it.
Now, if it would make dinner when I got home during the week, that'd be fine with me.
That's called a microwave.
No, it won't, Ulysses. It's going to make you the dinner that's healthy for you. You get healthy vegetables.
We'll have 3D printed dinners one of these days.
You'll never ever eat bacon again for the rest of your life.
Think about all the animals we won't have to slaughter anymore.
I'm fine with that.
Those animals just won't exist in the first place. Then I mean, most of these animals only exist because they taste good.
The methane levels on the planet will drop. Global warming will come to a halt.
It'll slow down.
We won't have all the pig farms everywhere. I do like bacon. But I haven't had bacon in a while, so that's my fault.
We can artificially produce bacon.
3D printed bacon?
No, stem cells.
3D printed robots. 3D printed robots.
You need to build robots. All right, Jani.
Well, you take the stem cells from the pig, and you figure out what stem cells can we turn on and off.
We just need the belly. We just need the belly part of the pig.
Any of it. And you use that and you figure out the formula for what will make the best bacon. And then you just reproduce that chemical process. You take those stem cells and you just, create a scaffolding of some sort and you build your bacon.
Oh, yeah. All bacon is pork bellies, isn't it? And then they just cure it. But the flavor comes with how you cure it and season it.
Yeah.
And the fat. You have to have the fat. Most important thing. The thing that will kill us, we want to artificially create. We don't care about living. We just want our pig fat. Just give us our pig fat, please.
Well, Dale's point is that in the future we'll all be craftsmen. That's what the humans will do, be involved in crafts. And the artificial intelligence will be doing all the manufacturing and all that other stuff. And we'll all become craftsmen. I had a question about, again, trying to speed up that beer making process, fermentation.
Don't mess with the yeast.
Come on.
Don't mess with the yeast.
Too long to ferment.
Yeast do a good job. Yeast are almost like the babblefish in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. As in, if you want to disprove the existence of a god, you'd say, well, they'd never make a little organism that turns raw ingredients into beer. So God exists. God, it must exist if make something so perfect. But then you'd say, well, that proves God exists. So God vanishes in the puff of logic. Sorry, I'm very badly trying to quote Douglas Adams here and failing miserably. But anyway, yeast is brilliant. Like, who came up with the idea of using stuff that exists in the air and it can turn stuff into beer? It's excellent. We need yeast for doing other stuff as well. Like if yeast could turn land to gold, maybe, or something like that.
Bread, beer,
wine. Sauerkraut.
I love sauerkraut. Anything pickled. Cider, hard ciders. Oh, speaking of ciders, what about mead and bees?
Bees. Okay, yeah.
Segue!
So I actually read an actual story if I can actually find it. Here we go. I'm going to read. This time, I'm going to read an actual story here. On this, unfortunately, we killed a few trees to get this printed paper out.
Your low-tech tablet.
This is low-tech. I don't know what the ink. I don't know what we did for the ink.
A battery-free tablet.
And there are poor, abused,
Stone.
feeding honeybees a natural diet. There you go, the secret to everything. A natural diet of pollen makes them significantly more resistant to pesticides than feeding them then an artificial diet. No GMO bee feed. According to a team of researchers. And they found that pesticide exposure caused changes in the expressions of genes that are sensitive to diet and nutrition. Bees are exposed to hundreds, I say, of pesticides while they are foraging on flowers, and also when beekeepers apply chemicals to control bee-pest. Chemicals to control bee pest. There you go. Pesticides to bees. Our study demonstrates that exposure to non-lethal doses of at least 2 of these pesticides cause large changes in the expressions of genes involved in detoxification, immunity, and nutrition sensing. This is consistent with the results from previous studies that have found that pesticide exposure compromises bees' immune system. Furthermore, our study reveals a strong link at the molecular level between nutrition, diet, and pesticide exposure. To determine, we found significant changes, jumping ahead, we found significant changes in 1,118 transcripts or pieces of RNA among the bees that were fed either of the two meticides compared to the control group. These transcripts included genes involved in detoxification, immunity, and nutrition. Based on the results, the team performed several subsequent analyses aimed at understanding the impact of pesticides on bee honey physiology. One of these subsequent analyses examined the susceptibility of bees to pesticide stress after consuming a pollen diet or an artificial diet, either a soy protein or no protein diet. The team found that these diets, the team fed the bees these diets while simultaneously feeding them a lethal dose of a pesticide, an insecticide that is frequently used to control pests in agricultural crops. They then recorded bee mortality daily for 16 days. The researchers found that bees that were fed a pollen-based diet exhibited reduced sensitivity to this lethal pesticide compared to the bees that were fed an artificial diet.
Brian, more GMO crops.
Yes, that's what we need. We need to genetically modify our crops to be naturally, pesticides.
If we feed the bees a healthy diet of good pollen, they'll be more likely to survive these pesticides. But they're still going to get screwed over. If we
GMO genetically modify our pollen so that it'll make the bees super bees.
No, it's not like Spider-Man.
No. Super bees, Superman. I don't want Kryptonian bees.
So they're going to eat this GMO pollen and become a whole different breed of bees, capable of lifting.
They won't just make honey; they will actually make mead.
Oh, well, okay. Give them yeast.
That's what if we can cross mutate yeast with bees.
Oh God.
Yes.
I do like your honey. If you eat local honey, you're more apt to. Less allergy.
It improves your immune system.
Immune system. I mean, why are we killing bees?
It's good for hay fever, so you get used to your local pollen and don't get hay fever. So yeah.
I love bees.
It's hard to find local honey though.
Oh, see, I've got a guy. My dad gets his barber. He raises bees, so I get honey from him.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Oh, that's nice.
If I buy honey from the local farmers market, it could come from a completely different part of the country because local honey is so popular, and I live in a city.
It's hard to get in a big city. And they did an expose on honey. Like if you buy it off a store, you could be buying Chinese honey, which is actually mixed with other things, and you don't know where it's come from, so it's not 100% honey.
Yeah, apparently the honey I was buying from the store that had an Irish brand on it was coming from New Zealand. So.
New Zealand. That's a long way away.
Yeah, literally half the world away.
Well, two points in the story. Getting back to the story. Well, to me,
sorry for our tangent.
Oh no, we'll go off into another tangent, I'm sure. But particularly, it was the British Beekeepers Association. I don't know about the Irish Beekeepers Association, but I read on the.
We keep bees in metric.
Oh yes, okay. It really comes down to the beekeeper taking care of the hive, particularly in winter. And that seemed to be like 90% of the battle. Is taking care of your hive during winter, and that's what's going to make your bees survivable. That's what's going to stop most of your die-offs. And to jump off into a tangent, either MIT or somebody was building robot bees. They were building these little robot bees.
That's the best kind of bee.
Jani's favorite bee. I don't know. I'd rather have real bees than robot bees because I don't think robot bees know how to make honey. They could probably make mead, but no.
Honey is just bee vomit, so no, they do not know how to make honey.
Yeah, they don't know how to make honey.
And there's a little plant.
Whereas
All
alcohol
they
is
gotta do is
least
collect the
vomit.
pollen, right? The little bee robots collect the pollen,
Yeah, but they don't
and
eat
they
honey.
bring it back to a supercomputer-controlled hive, deposit the pollen, and the supercomputer-controlled hive produces the honey.
This is how we'll get honey when we live on Mars.
Yes.
There's no flowers on Mars. That's no problem.
There'll be
There's no
robot flowers. Robot flowers.
See, you just need bees to pollinate the flowers on Earth. You don't really necessarily need the pollen. They eat the sugar water that's in the flowers, right?
Yeah.
They just need fructose
That's in the pollen.
or maple syrup, one of the two. We need more maple trees.
Well, they're also pollinating crops.
That would lead to a world shortage of pancakes if we had too much maple syrup.
That's probably a bigger thing, is the crops that the bees pollinate.
I know. That's what I was saying when I come back from Michigan. All it is soybeans and corn. It's awesome off for miles and miles and miles. How can a bee survive on that?
Well, what about Mexico? Tacos, enchiladas, and stuff. I don't know all the stuff they make from corn, but I think corn is one of their big crops. And a lot of their fruit products.
Our corn goes to what? Animal feed and
Yes, in the United, yes, it does. Yeah.
animal feed, and then what? Do we
Cornflakes.
eat? Do we eat the next largest crop is what we eat, and then ethanol, right? That's the third largest use of corn. Now that we're actually figuring out how to use the rest of the corn stalk to make ethanol. But I think they're thinking of pulling the plug on the subsidies of ethanol, so I don't know how much longer we'll have ethanol if it makes it through Congress. There's heavy lobbying in the D.C. area. When I was working up there on the radio, you can hear them tell everybody to write the president to get rid of the ethanol component. It takes more to to destroy the environment to make more ethanol than it does to actually help it. But it's fueled by a petroleum industry and not a green lobby.
Ethanol is only good as an additive to oil-based fuel. You can't power something completely on ethanol, isn't that right?
Yeah, you can.
You can make an alcohol car.
Well, yes, you can fill your car.
You can make it.
There's existing cars that aren't converted to do that, but you can convert a car to do it.
It doesn't have as
They do
much.
that in Brazil?
Yeah.
They do that at farms all the time. Or that's biodiesel. Whatever.
I've seen cars that use old cooking oil. That they'll just rock up to the back of a restaurant and you can fuel using cooking oil.
I've seen them use
Used cooking oil.
The only problem is it's more. I think it's just as flammable as gasoline, or a little bit more, because it's got a lower flash point. Patrick might have to know about that, but I've heard people convert their cars to alcohol.
So basically, what we're saying is grow less corn, grow more barley.
Barley. Grow everything else.
Yeah, in World War II, they used wood as a fuel. They had these engines or something on the back of the cars, and it was wood powered, wood chips, powered by wood chips. And there are a couple of people in the United States that do that now. And if you've got a forest or something behind you, there you go. Just Use wood chips to fuel your car. Heck with the gas station.
We had a chance of having battery-powered cars when cars first came about. The president had one, but they thought the battery-powered cars were for women because you didn't have to manually crank the engine over, and you wanted to prove your manhood to your lady friend by crank-starting that car, and if it broke, you could fix it. You couldn't do that with a battery-powered car. It would just run to the battery.
I don't know where you get your information, but that sounds preposterous.
I was listening to an NPR story about it, so I know.
NPR. In the 50s, we had battery-powered trains in Ireland.
Wow, that is cool.
That was in the 1950s, and the problem was that after the batteries expired, after about 10 years, they just decided that it was easier to use to import oil or diesel electric locomotives rather than replacing the batteries. So, but for a good 10 years, there was battery-powered trains running in Ireland.
I don't understand why we don't have more electric trains, because those are pretty cool.
Because it's expensive to build the overhead power lines.
Canterbury, yeah.
That's what we had. That's what we did have. That's what I commuted on.
Needed to move them quicker.
I get an electric train to work, well, halfway to work every day. I need a bus to get the last bit. But
I commuted by train.
The subway had a third rail. We'd take that.
Third rail, yeah.
That was the Northeast Corridor. But the problem was, the Northeast Corridor was the only area of the United States where it was anyway profitable. And even in the Northwest Corridor, it was still partially subsidized, so it was government funding. and that was done away with, so you don't have these extensive railroad systems.
Yeah, all over continental Europe, they have local railway systems that make money in less densely populated areas than the northeast of the United States.
There was a coal railroad called the Virginia Railroad, and they had electrified their lines from Roanoke all the way back into the coal field because those engines were way more powerful and could go through tunnels that they built because the tunnels were longer.
Yeah.
And not produce smoke and suffocate their engineer. So we had electrical power back in the 19 teens.
Electric power streetcars were around, weren't they? Like before internal combustion engine became popular, people used electric powered streetcars to get around.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show you what a good lobby industry can accomplish. GM, Ford, and
I've seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I know how it works.
that's right.
Well, you know what did it? It did the suburbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But everybody moving out to the suburbs.
World War II.
And you want your own little car to get around.
In Ireland and UK as well as the same, it was the railway that actually made suburbs possible, but then it was the car which made railways impossible because of suburbs. But anyway, I think we've got the world's first suburban railway in Dublin.
Nice.
It was opened in 1844.
What about an automatically driven car that they're building? It's cars they're building.
Nah.
I'm sure that'll come to pass.
Yeah, I don't know. It would be great if it worked. I just can't see it working.
I think it would be great on like a highway. You just turn it on and let it drive you.
Like the road, maybe the road train where you pull onto a highway and then it just takes over and you just
because
until you get to your exit you take over again. But I can't see automatic cars working for city driving.
See, you'd have to build so much in to make the road smart. Put in like detectors for it.
The reason why I can't see automatic cars is that at some point there will be a changeover period, and I can never see the changeover period where you have some people driving their cars and other people using automatic cars. If tomorrow they decide that nobody can drive anymore, everyone has to use automatic cars, I could see it working, but that's not going to happen. There has to be a changeover period where there'll be a mixture of automatic cars and human-controlled cars, and that's just going to not work.
No,
autonomous. Not automatic. Automatic means I don't have a stick shift anymore.
Okay, economy.
Autonomous then, yes.
Well, like, everybody drives automatic cars already. What are you talking about?
Nobody drives. Everyone has a stick shift. Come on, what are you talking about?
I have a stick shift. But there's a lot of people who don't know how to do that.
I don't know how to drive an automatic gearbox. I learned with a stick shift and I've never used a non-stick.
Yeah, no, when I drive an automatic now, I'm always reaching for a clutch that's not there.
I miss it. It gives you more interaction. It keeps you more focused driving with a clutch.
But it can also be a pain when you're always stopping and going all the time.
Yeah, that's what I don't like about a clutch.
So it's not good for city driving, stopping and starting city driving, and the
It's a pain in the butt.
heavy traffic on in the commuting lanes.
It's
But
a
if you
lot
can
better
get out to the open road,
It's a lot better for snow driving.
Yes, it is. I do miss that. I had a little Ford Escort that was a front-wheel drive manual. I can get around anywhere in that thing. All right. Ed, do you want to do another story?
I don't know. You guys don't like me reading stories anymore. I don't know.
Oh, come on.
Actually, I'm more interested in talking about topics. Let's see if I can. We got the lineup.
Space
Lineup
topic.
stories.
Exploding rockets. Do you want to talk about that, or did you talk about that with Dale?
Well, I get the topic there was what effect will the two mission failures, one private, one government, have on the U.S. space program and joint programs with the private sector?
I just want to say, like yesterday or today, that Orbital has said they're not using the JA-26 rocket engine anymore, and they're going to use another launch system to complete their, because they got to get this thing done by 2016 before, because that's when their contract ends.
Let's see. Response to Tuesday's loss, the Antares rocket carrying the SSD Slayton something or other. Orbital Science Corporation and the other are going to stop using the Aerojet Rocketdyne AG-26. Now, what else are they going to be using?
They've got a monitor. I'm sure they're going to buy another rocket. I think they're going to use another Russian engine, just not the 26.
Another Russian rocket?
Yeah, that's all we got.
Hopefully one that's not 40 years old.
Russian motors.
Go for a 35-year-old one.
20-year-old one.
Said preliminary evidence and analysis conducted points to a probable turbo pump related failure in one of these two stages.
They could use the
It
monitor.
just says as yet unnamed rocket. So they haven't decided yet. But it's going to be a none, but it's not going to be the current one.
Well, they said that the Cygnus space delivery system is flexible, so you can put it on top of just about anything.
There have been negotiations with Orbital and SpaceX to provide more flights under the contract. And this would have seen additional cargo runs conducted through 2017, so could not have been worse for NASA. NASA accepted proposals for the second CRS contract in the middle of the month, in the middle of November. So this looks like SpaceX and Orbital.
Whoa. I think, well, all of this is good news. It's a shame that it has set Orbital back, because I really like, their people are very dedicated, and they've been trying to get into the space supply business. And Sierra Nevada, I'm really pissed, because they had a great design for their ship, and like Bill Nye said, it wasn't on the side of the rocket, it's on top of a rocket, so you don't have to worry about balancing and fuel issues. And like it exploding, you can eject your little space capsule, and you got so much more cargo that Sierra Nevada could carry other than SpaceX, and there's yet to be determined what who got the contract, Patrick?
What are you talking about?
The commercial suppliers for the space station, or for transporting astronauts up. You got SpaceX one and what, Boeing?
SpaceX, I think it's the United Launch Alliance.
So I think Boeing won the contract, didn't they? For their capsule, which they haven't built yet. How they won it without having a capsule built is beyond me. It's like awarding the military the X-35 and they haven't built and tested it yet. You get into cost overruns that way.
I don't know.
Anyway,
What else?
I think we're. I know this has been the last 2 weeks ago. It's been a very bad setback for commercial space flight, but I don't think it's not going to stop it. I think once we get the technology to mine a meteorite or an asteroid, I think you will see a giant leap in commercial exploration.
Yeah, it's like you say, we're learning. That's how you learn. You learn from your mistakes. And with the Antares rocket, no one was injured. No one got hurt. And a big thing is the United States, everything is open and public. If this had happened in Russia or China, you might have had a 2-word sentence saying, well, there was a little accident. And that's all you would have heard about it. We have them live. And
I wanted to go to that.
Didn't you have some friends, Ulysses? Did you post a video from a couple of your friends that were there?
Some of the guys from the Laddie launch one of the guys from the Laddie launch went, and he posted his video, and it's pretty cool because you can see it all happening before you hear it all happening, because they're like 2 miles away. And I wanted to go to that launch, but they kept delaying it. So,
what kind of, would you get any kind
of hard
wave or heat wave or anything like that? That far away?
Yeah, there was compression. Yeah, that far away, it was knocking people. There's another video of these people were in the back of a pickup truck, I think on Chiquitique, and you could see them knock them down. The explosion pushing people over and their cameras tripod over. So it was a pretty big explosion.
And I saw your friends, they were running for their lives together.
Well, NASA has handlers with you at all times, and they will shuffle you off, and that's their job in case something goes bad. They shuffle you, they put you on a bus and run you to safety.
Yeah, I mean, aren't there a fair amount of these missions get scrubbed? So you can have people making all kinds of plans to get there, and then nothing happens.
Yeah, that's a
problem. I guess that's where the socials come in.
Well,
everybody gets out and goes drunk afterwards anyway. So.
Well, they usually have after press conference that you can go to, post launch, wrap up. Like
you get the facilities and stuff. So.
Well, before the launch, they take you around and show you the NASA Wallops facility, which is kind of cool because they make those giant space balloons and sounding rockets there that do, suborbital tests. And well, if you do a back in the space shuttle days, the space shuttle always got delayed. I mean, that thing wasn't always going off at the launch time. So you've got to see, Brian. You've got to expect that that's part of the experience is delays in launch. I don't know how many. This was before my time because I never saw an Apollo launch. I wasn't born until '73. But do you remember any of the Apollo launches going off at the time set? Sure, Apollo 11.
Were they live on national television? I'm not sure. But now you've got your online, TV station. You can watch it. But back then, I remember seeing some live rocket launches, but I don't remember which ones.
There's
Wasn't the one where that blew up and killed the astronauts? That might have been live.
Challenger was. They showed. I don't know if. I mean, I know they probably cut to it, but they. I remember maybe it was Challenger was probably filmed because it was the first time elementary school teacher was being shot up. That was a big deal for NASA. That was their big. I won't say stunt because they want to get more people into watching their rocket launches. Because after a while, I don't know if you could always catch a rocket, a shuttle launch. I'm sure they would cut to it when CNN come up, When that Orbital Antares rocket blew up, that's all CNN showed. I was impressed. But that's because
the news only likes stuff to blow up.
I know it's only and that is so close to DC. If it was successful, you would have been able to see the rocket from DC very clearly.
It's all going to be live now, as long as NASA keeps showing them online. And most people now, that's where they watch. They don't turn on the TV set. Many more people now, it's all online.
Yeah,
I don't turn on my TV set much anymore.
Too much interesting stuff to watch on, surf on the web, the internets.
Think of all the socials, the Google Plus Hangout socials, for people, watching it and talking about it themselves.
Was it Joanne McMasters? She does some science. She was tweeting. She was in New York. She was trying to get in line the day that Antares was scrubbed. She was trying to get on top of the Empire State Building so she could see the rocket launch. But the next day she was going to be in D.C. when it blew up. She was tweeting about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what do you think about human error in space flight? Do you think they'll redesign Spaceship 3?
Why is the re-entry and the takeoff? Why do you need pilots for that anyways? Why isn't it just all automated?
Yeah, I don't understand that. Why Spaceship 2 could be so readily accessible to pull a lever and have those shuttlecocks. I can understand maybe an emergency you'd need to come down early or something. But why would you put that in reach when you're launching? And according to your article, I read that you can release it once you pass Mach 1 and your ship would be fine. But apparently when you go through the sound barrier, it can't. The hydraulics can't hold the wings.
Yeah, that's what happened with that Virgin Galactic one.
But there's
the co-pilot pulled the wrong lever.
Right, that's Spaceship 2.
Spaceship 2.
They're still speculating. I mean, they think that's what it was in the video.
The co-pilot Mike Olsbury made what many close to the event believed it was a fatal mistake that led to the 10-mile fall back to Earth. Man, 10-mile fall back to Earth. Good grief. Well, if you're unconscious for part of the time, that would be okay, I guess. And the pilot survived.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's amazing.
So why would they, like, I'm with Patrick, why would you need, why would they make where you can unlock the wings so close to where you're working around launch?
So I've been watching a lot of stuff from Elon Musk recently, or like a couple weeks ago I was, and someone asked him if they were going to have their own like astronaut corps or whatever, and he was like, "Well, I don't think we need any more pilots to go into space. Dragon capsule can get to space without any pilots just fine. So I think we need to send regular people to space." Because the Dragon capsule is completely automated. You don't need anybody in that thing to fly it. I mean, you can have astronauts in it as cargo, but they're not going to touch anything. So why does Spaceship 2 need pilots? I don't get it. Why isn't it completely automated?
It's probably why it's cheaper. It's not completely automated, maybe.
No, that doesn't make any sense, because by having pilots, you are adding more atmosphere that you need. You're adding more human weight, which is costing more fuel.
Somebody's got to serve drinks.
I think the only reason they're there is to make the customers feel safer. But I would feel safer if there weren't any pilots.
I don't know. I don't feel
What about
safe.
the landing part? How automatic is the landing part of that mission?
I mean, that's a plane landing, really. You would need a pilot for that.
No, planes can land automatically just fine.
I don't know. I don't trust them.
I'm telling you, people have errors. You don't want people in the mix. You want computers to do all of it. You have redundancies in these things.
But computers can get hacked.
Yeah.
Not if it's not on a network.
I want the computer to fly it unless something goes bad and alarms go off and the guy can grab the stick and say, "Oh, I can at least try and land the thing."
If alarms go off, all you do is you fire some retro rockets and then shoot a parachute out, and you're all good.
That's another thing about Elon Musk, is he's not going to put a parachute in his or a red one. It's all going to be rocket.
No, there's a parachute.
Oh, okay, good.
There's a parachute for emergencies, but it lands under power.
Yeah, I don't understand that. That's more weight you got to take up with you.
No, but parachutes you can't land in a specific spot. Powered landings, you can land anywhere the heck you want.
Until the engines fail.
Right, in which case you have a parachute.
What if the engines blow up? Parachute don't have.
Your whole craft is fucked. Who cares? It's variables that have nothing to do with anything. You just want this all to fail. That's kind of pissing me off.
I mean, if your spacecraft could blow up on re-entry, you could take that little part of the equation out and just land with a parachute, right?
You know, if you don't need...
On re-entry, if you have a heat shield with a crack in it, than you do if you're coming in powered.
There's that.
Yeah.
If you don't need a human to pilot that particular craft, you don't need any humans up in the space station. They can all be replaced by robots, can't they? What do you need humans for going into space then?
We gotta experiment with people in the space station so we know how long, so we can study you on the long journey to Mars, right? It's the only reason, right?
While they do non-human based experiments on the ISS, our biggest long-running project are the astronauts being in space.
Mm-hmm.
So we're testing to see how long a human being could survive in the weightlessness of space.
Well, it's not weightless, it's microgravity.
Microgravity. But the only bad thing is you're getting more exposure to cosmic radiation, which will damage your DNA and cause cancer.
Maybe.
Yeah, the hard thing with humans is it takes time for some of those symptoms to show up, but best you can do. How long do they stay? How long does one person stay in the space station?
About 6 months to a year.
6 months.
Yeah, we've never had like a 2-year guy up there.
There's been a guy that spent quite a while there, but not all at once.
Yeah, see, we need somebody to be out. See, but your body, decalcification of your bones, your body extends, and Commander Hatfield said it's painful for a spine to shrink back down. I was listening to him talk.
Walking again back on Earth.
Yeah.
A coworker of mine met Hatfield Thursday.
What?
He got on an elevator in Building 4, and he looked at the guy next to him. He was thinking, like, this guy looks a lot like Chris Hadfield. And he goes, hey, have you ever been told that you look a lot like Chris Hadfield? And he's like, yes, I have, because I am Chris Hadfield.
That's awesome.
And then he got a selfie with him.
You need to post that now.
Oh God, selfies, cell phones.
I walked by Chris Hadfield at lunch one day, but I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to be that guy.
You with who?
Everyday chicken, and then there's juicy chicken
What the heck?
with helmets.
Not me.
It shouldn't be
Helmets is the
me.
secret to making Parmesan.
Maybe Yanni?
Johnny likes chicken. I should have. I didn't think that John Grumsfeld was on Car Talk till after Tom died, because I met John Grumsfeld. I should have asked him about that. That would have been fun. More and more, you got all these pilots, or these astronauts that have no military background in NASA now, which is really cool for most people, I think. But anyway, commercial space will solve all that. You won't have to have any experience. Just go on up. They'll train you. 3-month program, you're good.
Yeah, we get all those design elements are done by, once again, our supercomputers, and all the model testing done by supercomputers. You press a button, and the supercomputer will come back and say, okay, here's the design of a ship, of a rocket, or whatever it happens to be, that we say will work, and that accuracy will equal anything any laboratory can come up with, and that will certainly speed up the process of building rockets and going off into space.
I was watching an episode of Nova Science Now, and they were talking about spacesuits. And you have 1/3 atmosphere in these spacesuits, but once you go out in space, it makes the suit really rigid. And they're talking about having to build better spacesuits so we can flex around and work. That's most of your astronauts' energy goes into moving the spacesuit to do the work outside the space station or whatever your capsule is. So maybe somebody can invent an Iron Man suit that'll do all the movement for you and protect you.
I met Sonny White a couple weeks ago.
Woman working on... Oh!
Wait for it.
Was she down there in Texas? That's awesome.
No, Sonny White. Harold Sonny White.
Sonny White. Sonny
Carter. No, it's not Sonny Carter. White. Sonny Carter is the place. Harold White. Do a Google search for it really quick.
Harold G. White, mechanical engineer, aerospace engineer.
Wait for it.
NASA engineering doctoral orbit.
Wait for it.
Ah! The warp drive.
Yep.
That his alma mater is South Alabama, Wichita State, and Rice University. It's a donut-shaped spacecraft to build a field. They're just investigating the feasibility of a warp drive. The team has designed a warp field interferometer test bed to demonstrate warp field phenomena. Experiments are taking place in NASA's Advanced Propulsion Physics Laboratory, Eagle Works at Johnson Space Center. Michelson interferometer will detect distortions in space-time field.
I worked on his computer.
You worked on his computer?
Yep.
That's great.
Did you see any top secret files?
What's that? No, I didn't. I didn't pull anything up.
Oh, what good are you, Patrick? Come on.
Yeah, I think all I'm gonna say is I worked on this computer. I'm not gonna say anything. Except that he doesn't answer his phone anymore because it's all of these crazy people trying to tell him that what he's studying is not real or something.
You know, the White Judy warp field interferometer.
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 Barometer.
Beam is split into two paths with the space warping device placed on one or near one beam path. The space warp would induce a relative phase shift between the split beams that should be detectable, provided that the magnitude of the phase shift created by the change of the apparent length is sufficient. By using 2D analytical signal processing, the magnitude and phase of the field can be extracted for study in comparison to theoretical models. First results, 2013.
He's trying to get a paper published. Right now he's working on all of the reference documentation for it so he can actually get it in an article. So when you're at NASA, you don't have to do any of this peer-reviewed stuff, but he's trying to get his data reviewed by the greater populace.
Isn't that what makes it
Legit.
We just need it to be peer-reviewed.
Right. He wants to get it legit.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Well, once we start going into private financing, it isn't so much you have to worry about per review. You've got to talk somebody with buckets of money into backing you.
Yeah, GE needs to take this up.
Make it profitable. You got to find a way of saying, okay, this is how you can make buckets of money using this technology.
Speaking of which, I don't understand how Lockheed Martin could come out and say we're going to have portable fusion generators in 10 years and then not produce any kind of data. Did you see that, Patrick?
It's not about them. They have an idea to make a compact fusion reactor. And the reason they came out public with it, so they were doing it in Skunk Works, is because they wanted more input on the system. They didn't want to rely on just their in-house engineers. They wanted other people in the field to tell them, look at their data and see what's going on.
So do you think there's any truth to what they're doing?
I have no doubt that they're working on it. What did I just say?
I know. I don't understand why. How come they didn't produce any if they're asking for help, then why say you might be able to do it? And
Because that's better
good.
than saying no chance in hell this is going to work.
I mean, because I know, what is it, Fermi Lab? Not Fermi. What the National Ignition Lab hasn't quite done it yet. They haven't produced more energy.
No, they have produced more energy than they put into it.
Oh, good.
The difference is pretty minuscule, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really minuscule for what they produced, but it's still more than what they put in.
So it's not feasible for what they're doing. I mean, they're not building a generator. They're just testing.
The National Ignition Facility is just doing tests. They would like to have an actual working generator. But it's not really a high priority for them. That's the Department of Energy, and the Department of Energy's job is to make sure that all of the nukes don't blow up in the silos. That's pretty much all they're supposed to do.
As a disappointment, France, their project just way over budget, just fell apart. They were the only country I know that was actually trying to build a full-scale fusion reactor.
No! We went over this Thursday.
That's 2 days ago. I'm supposed to remember that?
Yeah, tell me about it, Patrick.
We just talked about this.
Well, I wasn't there. Come on.
There's the Tokamak, there's the National Ignition Facility, there's Lockheed. There's a lot of people working on this project. There's people over at CERN working on it.
Do you think if they do create...
Well, they're working on it. Yes, absolutely, they're working on it. But,
if we do create fusion power, which would, if they could do it cheaply, don't you think there would be a backlash from these other energy companies?
Well, yeah, just like there's a backlash with the current producers trying to prevent people from using solar cells on houses.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Why?
Because
it's profitability.
Well, I'm not saying profit. I mean, if you want to save the environment from man-made climate change...
Save the environment? You think any business is interested in saving the environment?
Now you're sounding like...
They're interested in making buckets of money.
Tesla is in court now because...
There are some. Elon Musk, okay, I'll give you him.
They can't directly... So you can't... There's a stupid law. You can't directly sell a car from the manufacturer. You have to do it...
Some states.
Well, it's a federal law, I think.
It's not a federal law. It's all state-based.
Oh.
Isn't there something there was something in Texas recently? Maybe even an initiative on a ballot or something about that?
Not this election, there wasn't.
Okay.
Because I just voted. There were 92 running things in this election.
90? Oh my... Ballot initiatives?
No, it was all judges.
Oh, judges.
That's the thing about the California ballot, too. They have all these initiatives they put on their ballots because just about anybody gets enough signature, they can throw it on the ballot.
We only had one this year. Florida last year had a lot. They had, like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 things. But anyway, unless you've got another story or topic, I think we're...
No, not yet. I'm sure we can pick up something if you guys want to talk about it. We're about the 2-hour mark here.
We need more dams.
We've covered everything in general.
Damn.
Dam more rivers up.
No! No! Stop doing that!
Need an all-of-the-above strategy.
Dams are
There's a
the
project.
worst thing. They're tearing dams down because they realize it's fucking up the environment.
No, they're only tearing down non-power generating dams down. Let's be fair.
They've had
Right?
Connecticut.
They're fucking up the environment.
Connecticut was one of the first states back in the colonial era that began generating a lot of power through their dams and things. In fact, they had small mills operating on small rivers, and you just had them on practically every river. And now there's very few left, and that's what there's an organization, and that's what they do. They go around and they try to they make agreements with the people who owned them, and they just get rid of them. So we're getting rid of our dams and water mills in Connecticut.
Good.
I mean, just think of a landslide that goes down and blocks up a river. It makes an artificial lake. Just think of it as that.
Different. That's different. That happens every once in a while.
It happens more.
One thing,
It happens like every 100 years.
It's better than pouring junk into the water, though.
I want to hear about, Patrick, that you were talking about this lake that they had to drain so they could get rid of zebra mussels.
Ew, those things are nasty.
Yeah, Zarinsky Lake in Omaha, or Millard.
They're coming back into the Great Lakes, aren't they?
I think so.
Yeah, they destroy everything. They're like that, what is that fish from Asia that can jump?
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about, yes, but I don't know what it is.
They've electrified the Chicago River because they've swum up the Mississippi, and they're trying to get into the Great Lakes, which I think they already are in. But they eat everything, and they breed like rabbits.
Yeah.
Pretty much can't stop
Asian
it.
carp? Is it the Asian carp?
I think so. And it's just damaging the native environment.
Yep.
Does
And
that
those
make any
zebras,
difference to us? Well, you want diversity,
Yes.
first of all. You want diversity. You don't want to have one dominant species.
and they got more bones, so they're very hard to eat.
That's the big thing to us. Can you eat it?
And they're carp, so they eat poop. They're not very healthy to eat. And those zebra mussels, see that the Great Lakes has these ocean-going ships that can go in saltwater instead of just unloading. So they get the stupid zebra mussels on the hulls, and then they come into the Great Lakes and spread everything too. So they're nasty. I don't know. Globalization. It's all globalization.
Well, that was what. Is it man-made or is it so-called natural? If you can
Well,
differentiate between the two. But
if you're a man and you haul it from one place of the globe to another place that doesn't have it, I would say that's man-made. I don't think there's a bird that's going to fly from China to the Great Lakes with a zebra mussel.
Birds tend not to migrate over the ocean or bodies of water.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my only theory.
I'm sure I've got parts of it wrong, but when Central Park was first built, they wanted to have all of the bird species. I think it was in Shakespeare, and one of those species, I don't know if it's sparrows or starlings,
Finches.
had not been in the United States until they introduced them into Central Park, and then boom, they just exploded and went everywhere.
Starlings, finches.
I think they breed twice a year or something, and they just take over from they're more aggressive, and they just take over from the native birds.
Yeah, there was a guy that wanted all the birds from Shakespeare's. You said it.
Right.
Now you've got these flocks of birds, and they're all over the place.
It's diversity. Diversity is the issue. Lots of diversity, lots of different types of
You can't
plants
eat
and animals.
birds.
All right, Ulysses, what happened in West Virginia? You're in Virginia.
Yeah.
Are you happy with this election?
I don't think anybody's happy with this.
What's up there? What happened? You vote for the right guy? You vote for the winner?
I voted for the winner, but he didn't win by very much.
Hey, who cares? He won.
For now, I I don't know. I mean, it's just a political cycle. I think partly for the last 10 years you've had gerrymandering going on in the United States, and it's been a thing for the Conservative Party to get elected to local houses and change the laws so you can gerrymander your districts, and that's going to be it's going to be real hard for the Democrats to break unless the Republicans do what they did.
There's more Democratic voters than Republicans. If the Democrats come out and vote, they win. Period. End of discussion. But a lot of Democratic voters have any confidence in the party itself. And the thing to me is, I see you're talking about initiatives. The initiatives on the ballots, those are becoming increasingly more important than the actual candidates in some cases.
Yeah.
And the biggest initiative, it wasn't who the heck is going to win the mayorship. It's is the public going to support $5.6 million to fix the roads? That was the big thing. Who cares who the mayor is?
Yeah.
We got to fix our roads.
Our roads are falling apart. Our infrastructure's falling apart. The Republicans don't want to spend any money to it. We like my local district county representative. He's a libertarian, so he's not going to spend any more money than, I just want sidewalks. I found statistics showing the accident rate, the injury and death rate compared to with roads with sidewalks and without. And roads with sidewalks are way more safer than roads without sidewalks for people who walk along them. So, but he's not going to want to spend any money to build just a little bit of sidewalk for about, half a mile or a mile. So, I mean, there's just, it's a whole mindset with the conservative movement.
Now, Ulysses, you can let me know when you want to doze off and quit, but what about this project you're working on now?
No, I'm just
restoration project.
There's a bunch of dams on the New River, and American Electric Power owns them, and they're redoing this dam. I went down there to drop something off, and this dam was built in like 1913, and it's still got the original turbines in it, and they're fixing it up, making it more modern, But it's still the original turbines, and they're still producing power.
They're still on. The electric company still uses it on.
Yeah, there's only like 10 megawatts or something, 20 megawatts. But, and that's small. Well, they just built a Bat Creek, and that thing makes like, I don't know, 2 million. What is it? The biggest dam that Appalachian Power owns is Smith Mountain Lake. That makes 600 megawatts of power. Now, the one I've been working at lately only makes 80, and it's a big dam. It was built in 1938, and they still use that, and it was built really well because they don't have to redo the windings because they encased them in asphalt. They don't do that no more when they make windings, which I don't know if it's because of it's toxic or it's just too hard. But it's pretty cool because I've been climbing all over, around the shaft and in the windings and down in the turbine pit. So I just think it's cool. And I know other than damming up a river and stopping the flow of migration of fish, the water's not toxic, except, if you dump something into the water, then it's not toxic.
The dam shouldn't affect the water quality, should it?
Dams don't affect the water quality.
Don't churn up a lot of debris in it.
You get to film the water with fish that get caught up into it. Smith Mountain Lake was one of the first pump
A lot of the dams I've read about, they have bypasses, don't they?
Yeah.
For fish?
That's true.
Out west, this one doesn't.
Fish ladders. They're supposed to put in fish ladders.
They don't have them here.
Yeah, not all of them have them.
No, they don't have them here. But the one not too far from Roanoke is the first pump storage dam where they built 2 different dams. So they'll generate power when they need it, like peak times, like in the morning or in the evening, and then at night or during the day when they don't need it, they pump the water back. I mean, it's got a river flowing into it, but they pump this water back, and because they got to keep a certain level of water at all times in the lake, because people that live around the lake now that they built. And I think it's a I don't know if it's federal or state law that if you exceed the level of average level, you can there's a certain tolerance within these lakes that they dammed up that you've got to keep your water level at, or you're going to get fined. It's pretty interesting. All the stuff that goes on to run a dam. And I was watching something about the Grand Coulee Dam when they built that. That's just a massive, massive dam. It was built in 1934 or something like that, or 20. It was built during the Great Depression, and that one is only 2,000 megawatt, 200. Smith Mountain Lake 600 megawatts. This one was 200 megawatts of power. But that was 1930s technology. The only problem with the Grand Coulee Dam is it had salmon runs, and they kind of killed the migration. Now I think Patrick's right. They might have built a ladder around that one because it's on the Columbia River. That's a really big river. But that one was just poured concrete. Now the Hoover Dam on the Colorado, that's a concave dam, and it uses the pressure of water to secure it. It doesn't have as much concrete in it.
I'm reading about the largest dam in China, the Three Gorges Dam.
Oh, that thing's huge. I don't know how much power it makes, though.
22,500 megawatts.
Jesus.
Let's see. They only just completed it, 2012, just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, sure. What's up?
They're obviously generating significant amounts of power from it. China's also trying to go big into solar energy as well. But, it just says here, causing significant ecological changes, including an increased risk of landslides.
So you said that made 22,000 megawatts of power?
500 megawatts.
22. Wow. And they just built one not too far north of here. It's a pump storage dam, and it's kind of new. It began in 1977 and was finished in 85, and that one makes 3,003 megawatts of power.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the biggest one on the side of the eastern continental divide, but it's nowhere near as big as that one. And
well, they do. I think that was the one that displaced 600 towns or something. Moved a lot of people. But
yeah.
They want to be energy independent. So.
Well, I mean, it's the China Three Gorges Dam has backed up so much water. It's changed gravity, isn't it?
No idea.
What I heard.
Yeah, we have a dam, but it mostly is the lake created is for recreational purposes. I don't know how much power it actually generates. The only time they release any water is when there's too much, when the water level gets too high, then they release some water. But that's really mostly for recreational purposes.
And if they know that they're going to get significant rainfalls, they'll lower that. They'll lower the lakes, just so they won't have to. I mean, you've got to be a little proactive when you're running a dam.
Yeah.
I mean,
And when the whistle blows, you better run for the hills.
And as much concrete as in American dams, aside from destroying the ecological life in the river, I mean, if we didn't do that, dams would be wonderful ways of storing, creating energy.
Well, if it wasn't for the dams, and in part, I guess, like the Grand Canyon Dam and stuff like that,
Yeah.
California, Los Angeles wouldn't exist.
Oh, well, yeah, Las Vegas would not exist.
Las Vegas would not exist. Las Vegas might go away. That town, I mean, they got to compete for water.
Yeah.
They import it all, I think,
Yeah.
and there's more and more competition to get at less and less water. But I would say Las Vegas could be in big trouble. A desert.
They'll have to turn people away. You can't live here. We've reached our limit of people. You can visit, but you can't stay. I have to do that.
Again, there's another. We talk about overcrowding and things. We talk about growth. Arizona, what is it? Phoenix, Arizona. How much it has grown. How some of these towns have grown, and there's just not enough water for them. Now what are you going to do? Now they got to move someplace else, maybe, I guess.
I guess.
It certainly means the lands that they did have in those houses, the value is going to drop down.
I don't know. You know, I'm trying to think of good, clean ways to produce energy that doesn't, really destroy the environment.
Exactly. Yes. You for instance, with solar power, you can't just look at the solar power. You got to look at what does it cost to build it.
Yeah.
You got to factor that in as well.
I mean, you still have to produce the panels. That's going to cost something.
Yeah.
I mean, at North Anna, they built a lake to cool the reactor, which is pretty impressive. So they've dammed up.
We need our national grid based on nuclear power, but the water we need to cool those reactors.
That's what you need. A pump storage system that cools a nuclear reactor. There you go.
Although in the ocean, I think off the coast of New Jersey, where they have reactors, and maybe they use the water in the ocean, I don't know, but they've heated up the water around the reactors, and the fish love it.
Yeah, I mean, they've got they can tell the difference in just north in this Lake Anna. They can tell you the difference in the water coming from the lake as opposed to the water coming out. It's warmer after it's past the reactor.
Right.
So I don't know. If you put a pump storage on a nuclear power plant, that would make you a little bit more power too, instead of just building a dam to hold back water for your nuclear power plant. But see, all this will go away once we design fusion reactor.
And that the whole cool fusion reactor.
Full-scale fusion reactor, based on the progress I've seen, what I've read about, I'd say that's quite a ways off. Decade or more. Over a decade away.
It's always a
that
decade.
Time.
It's always
a decade away for 50 years.
But if we get it,
I wouldn't be putting my bets on that anytime soon. By that time, we'll probably be mostly solar, I'm guessing.
Like we've said before, you always need a base load.
Yeah.
And solar does not work during the night.
That's why you need that better battery.
Unless you have superconductive power lines and they're shipping it over from the bright side of the planet. You can't use normal transmission lines. You'd have no electricity left over by the time you cross the continents.
Well, don't you need a battery that can store enough energy so they don't get clouds over?
The current battery technology is not effective enough.
No.
Yes, that's what I say. You've got to develop it.
I don't even know if that would do it either. You'd still have to have something that would produce.
So Chris Morrison just called me. I texted him asking him about the Vasmir flying.
Cool.
And he said the politics are getting in their way, because if they put the Vasmir on the ISS, it'll save NASA about $200 million a year on fuel that they're paying the Russians to ship up there to boost the ISS back into orbit. So the Russians aren't too happy about putting the Vasmir on there, because then they lose $200 million a year. And then there's other electric propulsion drives that NASA's been working on. And those teams are a little mad that the Vasmir is getting put to the front of the line.
Yeah, but
and there's all this other crap, too.
But the Vasmir's been developed. They just need to test it, right?
Right. Yeah, they don't have any space tests right now. So, I mean, if they can get someone else to do it, then... But if they put the Vasmir up, it'll just be about $200 million initially, and then it'll be, like, maybe $10 million for fuel every year.
I mean, that's crazy. And we already don't care what the Russians want to do. Put the Vasmir on it.
Well, right now we still have to cooperate with the Russians because they're our taxi.
Yeah.
As soon as we can put people up there, I think we'll have a different relationship with the Russians.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And the Russians want to crash the ISS in 2020. So if the Vasmir doesn't get up there soon, then it's kind of a moot point at that point.
6 years.
Yep.
You see, that was that nice engine that could get us to Mars real fast if it worked out.
Right. Mars Direct.
Ugh.
But they also have to put better power capacity on the ISS in order to actually use the Vasmir. They have to upgrade their solar panels. They have to put 100 kilowatts of power on the ISS, which I'm not actually sure how much it produces right now.
So do we need a space station with people on it, as you talked earlier, other than to experiment on those people, how they live in space?
Yes.
What are the reasons? Putting up instruments, telescopes.
You have to have people on board in order to see it. There's 84 kilowatts of power generation on the ISS, which is actually pretty decent.
It's pretty decent. No, I don't think you can get enough power from moonlight, Jani. I've been told that it takes
Put up solar panels on the moon and reflect the sunlight.
No, it'd be mirrors.
Can you use micro? Oh, what is it? What kind of wave technology do they use to send energy? Microwaves? No.
Yeah.
That's got to be like a negative return after a certain amount of distance.
Well, if you do it direct, then it's... You use the microwaves to vibrate a panel that turns that into mechanical, and then it converts it back into electric.
Oh.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna see if we can take it.
Trying to think, what else? I mean, I've heard wind power costs too much to fix once they build it.
Wind power also kills a lot of birds and changes the weather on the ground.
It doesn't kill as many birds as they thought.
Cars can design it. You can
Cars
design it.
can kill more birds than windmills.
I think in Europe, maybe Netherlands or someplace, they have
We can
redesigned.
have our cat population, and the world will be so much better.
Cats?
Yeah.
Yeah, cats kill more birds than anything else.
You know what's not going to happen that really needs to happen that won't cost a dime? Conservation. We
Yeah.
learn how to get by with less. We
It's-
waste so much energy. Look at the homes, how much electrical power that's wasted in homes.
We do. No, it does cost money to become more efficient.
You got to invest in new technology, sure.
Right. So when you say it doesn't cost any money to conserve, you're wrong.
Well, insulate. It costs a
If I
little bit.
use less, how is that going to cost any money? If I turn
People aren't
off the lights more, if I don't have 6 computers, 4 television sets, if I don't have 400 square foot per person, 1,000 square foot per person, there'll be less space and I'll need less heat. That ain't going to cost me anything. That'll save me money.
Yeah, but no one's going to do that.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's the unfortunate part.
If you really want to save money, you have to make stuff more efficient, and that costs money.
That is what will have to happen. But man, there's just so much we can, I think, we can save in everything. Save in water. And it would not cost us anything. Food. Look at how much food gets thrown away.
Oh, yeah, we waste so much food. So, Ed, are you ready for this next polar vortex that's coming in?
I just briefly saw something. What is happening? What's happening?
There-
to this new storm?
There's a major typhoon that hit Alaska that's moving the polar cold, and we're going to get a polar vortex.
Let me see. What is my friend the weatherman? The Weather Channel.
So by Friday, we're supposed to have snow here Friday.
Friday.
Yep.
Ooh.
What do you say to all those global warming deniers?
What I say is, what's causing the polar vortex?
Well, you're having this late season typhoon here in Alaska, and the last time it ever did that was in '77. And so it doesn't happen that often, and I don't know if I would say that the heat from the Pacific has something to increase this typhoon.
Wow, our forecast is not that bad. Friday, slight showers, but I'm looking at the temp, 63 on Tuesday. 50s and 60s, except for Friday's 37. And so Friday we might, so it doesn't look at this first glance that we in Connecticut are going to have to worry too much about it, which would make me very happy.
It's supposed to snow down here.
What? I'm reading here and I didn't hear about it. We had surprise snow on November 7th. I didn't know we had any snowfall. Gosh, we certainly didn't. But I guess we
Look
didn't
out
get
your window more, Ed.
Where the heck did we have snow? Huh. Wow, I do need to get out. I mean, I can't believe this. I haven't been paying any attention to local news or anything. says surprise snowfall November 7th. I'm looking outside. We got nothing here in Seymour. 30 miles down the road, they're saying 7 inches of snow. What? Very weird. We have a vortex protecting my little city. Wow. 7 inches of snow just 30 miles down the road?
Don't leave your house.
That's amazing. And we had absolutely nothing. Nada. Okay.
I'm jealous.
I know we're supposed to get slammed this winter. It's supposed to match last year.
I don't know. I don't like cold weather.
Oh, you got the commuting in the snow. That's not driving in the snow.
All the wildlife gets it real hard. Especially last year, a lot, like up in northern Michigan where my dad's got a house, it was 40 degrees below zero, and a lot of animals did not make it through that winter. He was telling me the wild turkey population was like devastated. There's hardly any left up there.
Yeah, but imagine how hardy those turkeys are now.
Yeah, there's some tough turkeys. Deer they're really, because the fawns are born, well, they're born in the spring, but they're not really big, so when they hit their first winter, it's really tough.
We still have we have overpopulation. So that's why we have so many deer kills on the road, because they're having to spread out because there's too many of them.
Yeah, we don't eat them enough.
Well,
You got deer, Jani? But I don't eat deer anyway. I don't hunt.
That's something I've said, that if you're going to buy meat, you should have a certificate that showed that you kill something. If you're not willing to kill something, you shouldn't be eating meat. Then you should be just a vegetarian.
Does fishing count? That
Yes.
means a lot of trout.
I don't know if that actually counts.
Trout doesn't count.
If
I
you're
took a
eating
shot at it here, but
fish from the store and you go fishing and you eat fish there, sure. But it's totally different to like kill a deer and cut it and everything than it is to do a fish.
yeah, this gutting is a lot stinkier. Fish don't stink that bad.
I have attempted. My grandfather obviously fished, and gutting and cleaning fish was not one of my favorite projects. But I would say the exact same thing. If you can't fish and kill a fish, then you shouldn't be able to buy fish in a store or a restaurant. You should have little certificates. I am a carnivore. I have killed a deer.
I haven't killed
myself.
it.
I've shot at deer, but I've never actually hit one.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't hit one yet, but I've shot at it.
Does intent count?
You're a poor shot.
Huh?
It just means you're a poor shot.
Well, that it is. I have no idea how I qualified in basic training with my rifle. No idea.
Hitting a stationary target is a lot different than hitting something moving at a distance.
Well, yeah, but usually a deer is a stationary target, and when you fire at it, and that here's to go.
Deer don't stand in one spot very long, especially during hunting season.
You wait until they're standing in one spot.
Unless they're grazing.
No, where I was hunting in the woods.
Deer, wound it, and then you got to track it and find it. That you do not want to do.
Yeah, and that's what it's.
You want to hit it.
You want to get. But see, like where I was, you could hear the wood sounded like Vietnam. It was really bad. And there was a herd of deer. Must have been six of them all walking, and they weren't standing. They were walking when I was shooting.
We got a lot of hunters that don't know what they're doing. I don't know.
You can't hit deer with one shot.
Every year in Maine, you had hunters getting shot. You get the weekend warriors.
If you open up,
they're shooting cows.
Boom, 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 boom. You're not going to hit anything. So, anyway, that's something else. And besides, Patrick's a vegetarian. He doesn't have to hunt. He's actually healthy. He's going to outlive us. He's saving the environment because he's not having all that food produced to eat other food is a waste of gasoline and diesel.
I'm really on the fence about getting a dog. I really want one, but carbon footprint's more than an SUV, and it eats meat, and I don't know.
Think of it this way: the dog's already here. It's in the pound, and
yeah, but if I don't adopt the dog in the pound, it won't be in the pound for much longer.
Oh, it's a life form.
Think about something like dogs are needy. They're emotionally needy, and they get bored. So, I mean, if some people leave their dog in the apartment, like I got a neighbor, those dogs get bored. That's just not good for them.
And I don't have, like, a yard or anything. It's like, I don't know. It would get me out of the apartment more, I suppose.
Yeah, you go for a walk. They love you unconditionally. They have personalities. Get a small one, too. Don't get a big one.
Yeah, small ones live longer.
Small ones, you can pick them up and put them in their crate.
I want an Alaskan Klee-Klei, but they're expensive.
You get a pound shelter dog.
Yeah, thought about it.
Because then you're just promoting unethical treatment of breeders.
I really like the idea of the rescuing these dogs and things. But if you're going to get a pet, I don't care what kind of a pet it is, you got to know, can you take care of it? Can you provide it with the right amount of, like cats, okay. Cats, you got a couple of cats, they can hang around by themselves in an apartment and be very happy. Can't do that with a dog. Dog's not going to be happy by himself in an apartment.
No, dog needs to interact. I mean,
Dude, these are Alaskan Klee-Kleis. These are miniature Siberian Huskies.
Ooh, Huskies.
They stay the size of a husky pup forever.
Could they take the heat?
I've seen a husky in Houston.
That could be a problem.
I feel like that guy shouldn't be in Houston, but it's inside for most of the year. I don't know.
And some, I don't know if it's husky, but obviously you want to stay away from some breeds that become very much a one-person dog. You know, they.
Yeah, you have to. Well, you can't just like a dog that just stays in your car all the time and never meets other dogs will hate all other dogs. You have to take them to like a dog park and let them mingle around.
You gotta socialize them. Like, not all dogs get along. I mean, one of my dogs doesn't like other dogs, and they pick on each other just like humans. And
Well, they're attached to you. They don't want any other dog roaming around with you.
they're not. I don't know if that's the case. There's a pecking order to dogs. And all dogs seem to respond to humans. It doesn't really matter. Because my dog will get up to another human and just love all over it. It's not picky about what human it runs into.
One of the problems I've read, if you get some dogs like the guard dogs and things, you've got to really establish your authority over them. Because they're a pack animal. They're like a pack animal, the Rottweilers, etc.
Yeah.
If you don't establish control over them, they're going to establish control over you, And they're basically, one-person dogs. They really, really got to be trained when they're young. Same thing with German Shepherds. They really got to be trained well when they're young. That's why, like, you talk to Pound Dog, you don't know what kind of training it had.
You can train it. You can train a dog no matter how old it is. It might take you a little longer, but you can train it. Oh.
See, my brother has a actually I'm not. It's like a collie mutt or like a sheepdog mutt or something like this. But they got it from the pound, and he's very rowdy and whatnot, which is fine for me. I like let the dog be the dog must be. I don't have a problem with it. But they gave it like what do you call it? Stuff you give to ADD people. Oh, they gave it Prozac.
Ritalin.
Yeah, they basically gave the dog Ritalin. And I was like, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Taking all the fun out of your dog.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, people do that. One of my better friends on the internet was a woman. She was confined to her home. She had a disease, and she got a puppy, Riley. And he was terrific. But man, anybody came to the door, he was at them like a shot. And then he got very territorial, peeing over the place. So that's what she did.
Whoa.
Puppy project. Calm them down.
I give my dogs chew toys. They calm down.
Yeah, like you just if the dog's being really hyper, you need to tire it out. You need to take it running or walking or go to a park. It's like it's the same with kids. If the kid is really hyper, you need to tire the kid out.
Yeah. The boredom. They get bored.
Right.
You got to make sure they don't get bored.
Well, fellas, I'm going to get out of here. We've been doing this for almost 3 hours.
All right.
You should really get a dog.
Some of these dogs
Stop the broadcast.
The only